So, hello everyone, and we are welcoming you at Vilnius University Business School Media Room. And today we are going to talk about the leadership from the different perspective. And we have very prominent speakers in our webinar, which is named like their future leadership. What, when, and how. I would like to introduce you to the first speaker, Mariano, Andrade Gonzalez. And Mariano, he is one of the most experienced leaders and CEOs in having quite long experience and number of years working in different corporations. And you are the CEO and leader with a broad international perspective, very, very much. I would like to emphasize. The second speaker, Martynas, Kandzeras. And Martynas, he is the entrepreneur, first of all, investor, and also the partnership professor teaching at Vilnius University Business School. And really, Martynas, he's going to share his experience with us about the startups, what kind of leadership is needed for the startups.
Hello.
So, Martynas, welcome Marija Jakubauskienė. And Maria has a very, I would say, the interesting experience in education. First of all, Maria, she was graduating from the PhD, and afterwards she graduated MBA program of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Usually people do opposite, Maria. So Maria, she is coming from the medical sector, and Maria is going to share her experience about the medical sector, what kind of leadership is needed in the medical sector, and when and how and why, probably. And the fourth speaker, we have the speaker, he is online, professor in innovation, the Christian Byrge. I would like to introduce you. Christian, do you hear us?
I hear you clearly. Thank you. Thank you.
This short introduction of you, that you are an expert in creativity, and we are going to talk about your latest research you made, the creativity and the artificial intelligence. So, Christian, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let's start from Mariano. How it is to be a leader in such kind of international and corporative world? Tell us.
First of all, thanks, Birutė, for the kind introduction. Thank you for inviting us. I think it's very exciting to talk about this. Leadership is one of the key areas that keeps changing and is evolving constantly. And if we will compare it to the different factors that you just laid out now, technology, innovation, creativity, people all over the world, all those factors that combined make a very interesting journey. It also makes it very difficult. You need to take into consideration people factors, cultures, business needs, market needs, technology, innovation, and how do you do and lead all that to be successful. So I think in current times is changing dramatically. What you would see even 10 years ago, leading team was all about culture, was all about career development. Nowadays, you need to think a lot about interoperability. You need to think a lot about elevating the culture, and you need to think a lot about closer collaboration. At the same time, you have a youth working force that is coming eager to advance very quickly, and that cares a lot about their personal time, that cares a lot about their own purpose, and you need to combine all those and adapt. How do you do that in a corporation? I still don't know. I think it's work in progress.
But Mariano, talking about the corporations usually have their very well-developed structures and handbooks and rules and etc. So Do you have your own space and flexibility being the leader in such kind of the corporate world?
It tends to be a little bit rigid, but that's where leadership comes into play. I think, yes, you're right. There are lots of rules. There's lots of compliance rules, of HR rules, legal rules. And to be a good leader, you need to be able to anticipate, take measured risks. More importantly, you need to be able to involve the stakeholders for the changes that you need to make. It is impossible to have a handbook for a corporation like the one I represent today, Moody's, with 14,000 employees in over 140 locations. I mean, one size fits all? I don't think so. So you need to be able to innovate, and you need to be able to evolve with the company as it needs to, but you need to be able to influence that change. Mm-hmm. So it's not about bending the rules, it's about geolocating those rules into both your demographics in the organization that you're leading, in that country that you're leading, means to the country, and also to the society that you're going to be servicing into.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's switch to not from the corporate world to startups. Martynas, the situation in startups is completely different, I guess.
Yeah, it's completely
Tell
different.
us.
Also, thank you for inviting me, and it's very interesting that you invited people from different fields. So,
yes.
And when I was younger, I also wanted to find some recipe how to be a good leader, and I was reading book and etc. And what I understood, but I think it is not possible to find some kind of recipe how to be a good leader and how to lead. But I think it is two main traits. So first of all, you have to feel yourself. So you have to understand yourself and why you are in this world. And then you have to read the context, because in every context you need a little bit slightly different leadership. So if we're talking about startups, it depends on the startup and depends on in which field startup is working. But I think the main trait in the startup is, first of all, you are working in very uncertain environment. So you don't know how everything will go, Will you be successful, Will you find the clients? Will you create a product? So first of all, what you need to do, you have to have very strong vision, where you're going and where you want to reach, after 10 or 15 years or 5 years. And then be capable of aligning stakeholders around your company and within company towards this vision. And I think it's the most important thing when you are startupper or founder of a startup. Because if you just go, inside very details, and you have to go in the details, but if you go to the details, you don't see the broader picture and wider picture, and then it's quite difficult to work in this environment, because usually in the startups there are more, I think, not very lucky days than lucky days, And if you don't see this vision and if you don't see the way forward, so it will be quite hard to lead the people.
Yeah, okay. Just listening to you, I think that their startup nature is different for sure compared to corporate world, because you are creator yourself, first of all. So it means that you as a person, you should have a lot of personal competences. What do you think, what are the major personal competences you should have being the leader in the startup?
First of all, to be capable of being in uncertain situation.
Okay.
And when you don't have any structure, you don't know where to go, but inside you to be certain. So be in certain situation to be certain. I think it's competences, the biggest competence which is needed in the startup. And and you could learn it. And you could learn when you are, there are a lot of frameworks how you could do it. And when you're going through via these frameworks, so you start to feel a little bit certain in a certain situation. So you have to be.
So you read a book, for instance, The Black Swan, and that's done. What do you think?
Yes.
Is it enough?
No, I don't think so. I think a startup was for sure is more practical thing, and you need to go, the most important thing in the startup world is just to make a first step, just to stand, make a first step into uncertainty, and then try to do something like that. And a lot of people are afraid of doing it because there is no structure. I don't know how to go, how to go forward, how to develop the product, how to develop the service, and etc. So first of all, of course, you need to read a book or to have some framework, but then keeping this framework in mind, just have the courage to make a first steps.
How it is with the leadership and the fear of failure?
Yeah, it's a good topic, and because a lot of people are saying, I fear to fail, and then I don't do something. Yeah. And what I need to do, I need to somehow to operate my fear, and if I don't fear, so then I could go forward. And I think it is the wrong way to go forward, because fear is the natural emotion. Yes. I also doing a lot of businesses, and I fear to fail, and it is normal to fear because we are human beings.
Of course.
And if you become the friend of the fear, so fear becomes the friend.
Not enemy.
Not enemy, and then it is more easier to go forward. Of course you could fail.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah,
so,
as you said,
that's
natural.
And when you rationally think, okay, if you fail, so what worse could happen?
Okay. Yeah, you should be prepared.
Yeah, you should be prepared.
Yeah. Okay.
But of course, the fear is natural emotion.
So I think that every one of us, we will agree about the failure and fear. Maria, the question goes to you. You are coming from the medical sector, and by organizing such kind of the webinar, it was our idea to invite people from the different sectors and just talk about the leadership from the different angles. And you are yourself, you are a doctor, you are a professor, you are a researcher, you are the person who is working in Brussels in different working groups. Tell us, why did you come to study MBA in entrepreneurship? The medicine and entrepreneurship seems to be so different fields. And even by having already PhD, as I already told you.
Thank you, Birutė, for this excellent question and the opportunity to share my experience. If to speak about leadership, I participated in certain courses at the university, and I saw excellent, amazing women who were working for your business school. And I thought, I want to do something with those amazing women. And I wanted to come closer to them. And I then realized that you have started the entrepreneurial and innovation program. So my first idea was to follow someone I would like to learn from. And then, of course, more rational and more practical kind of approach and motivation for me was that when I was looking at the health and medical sectors, I saw that the systems are in need of transformation. And with all the social and environmental challenges that we are undergoing, I thought in health system, we are in a way sometimes like in a vacuum and we need ideas. And then I thought the source of those ideas could be this entrepreneurial mindset and seeing out of the box. So I was looking for innovative solutions and the possibility to look from the different angle, and I obviously did get it here, and I'm very glad with that.
Many people then they hear the word, let's say, their entrepreneurship or innovation. Usually they put into the alliance with the businesses necessarily. What do you think? Is it right? is it possible to have their entrepreneurial mindset in different sector and medical sector as you are from?
I think it's an idea, also a statement and a suggestion to the audience and also to my colleagues in health field, that entrepreneurial mindset is about creativity. It's about finding entrepreneurial opportunities, and it's about being resilient. Like Martina said, when you face fear and you sometimes fail, it's very much about leadership and about this entrepreneurial mindset that you are resilient. You stand up and you go further and you look for and you trust in yourself. So I think this kind of approach, this entrepreneurial mindset, is necessary for all fields. And medical field is no exception, because it opens you and allows you to see opportunities.
Christian, you are coming from the creativity area. And as Maria was mentioning, we are talking not only about the entrepreneurship and innovation, entrepreneurial mindset, but we are talking about the leader and leadership and really the future leadership. Probably no one of us, we can even imagine that we can talk about the leader without creativity. And really, the creativity, I think that one of the competence which is going together with the entrepreneurial mindset, innovation. But in our days, all of us, we have our opinion, not only opinion, but also their understandings about the artificial intelligence, and there are so many talks about ChatGPT and their different versions and how artificial intelligence is going to take our workplaces, what kind of impacts we are going to get from it. Christian, you made a research. Tell us how the artificial intelligence is going to impact, and not only impact, but also how we are going to live, and how we are going to live together with their putting in one line their creativity and their artificial intelligence.
Thank you for a really interesting question. I've done recently a deep dive into AI and creativity and how AI can help us become more creative and use the potential of AI in coming up with new ideas, elaborating these ideas, visualizing future scenarios. But I would like to start just with the talk before. I hope it's okay, because I've been working very closely in collaboration with medical companies, and particularly the last 4 years. With a quite big international company, where they considered creativity as a quite important part of how they develop new, more effective solutions and new competitive advantages. So they are strategically and operationally implementing creative and entrepreneurial mindsets into both clinical trials, the way you can perform clinical trials, and logistics, production, quality assurance, sales, basically all kinds of departments in medical. So even in highly regulated industries like the medical sector, creativity and entrepreneurial mindset can create new opportunities. So one last note about that. Typically in these highly regulated organizations, we think normally about innovation and creativity as ways to maintain standards and perfect standards. For example, the lean approach, where you continuously actively look for perfection, making standards better. But what creativity and an entrepreneurial mindset can do is to help you significantly raise the standards of how your machines run, how your sales and customer relations are, how your clinical trials can be operated, and also sometimes to set completely new standards. These breakthrough solutions that sometimes happens across industries. Coming back to the question, that was just a comment to the previous. Come back to your question. I think the leaders in most organizations across most sectors and industries are increasingly given a responsibility to make their department or their entire organizations more innovative. So in order to fulfill that responsibility, they need to build an organization that can continuously come up with new ideas that replace old ideas, the ideas that are not really effective anymore or no longer give competitive advantages, and get them out by replacing them with better, more effective, more motivating ideas for the organization. And also in terms of, and that's particularly interesting right now, in order to see potential meaningful and valuable uses of new technologies. So in order to do that, you need to build, you need to provide the skills, and you need to develop a confidence, going back to this fear of failure. You need to have the confidence to dare to move into new ideas and try them out. And then, of course, a culture of originality where new ideas are appreciated and tried out, maybe on a minimum viable scale, like test before you roll them out, but at least where you have a culture where you dare and continue to try out new ideas. Where is the role of AI in this? So when we had ChatGPT 3.5, we've had it for some time. It was tested how creative is it, and a recent publication showed that it's now no more creative than average humans. But then ChatGPT 4 came around, and they suggested themselves that it was very creative, more creative than previous versions of ChatGPT. So together with a team of researchers from the United States, I designed a research where we tested ChatGPT 4 for creativity. How creative is it? And we used a test which is typically considered the gold standard of how you assess creativity for humans. And the test has been used since the 1970s. So it's thousands and thousands of people who have done the test. So therefore, the particular task in the test could be asked to ChatGPT, and the same task had been asked to people since the 1970s. So we could compare the responses from ChatGPT. The particular tasks are related to asking curious questions, so basically questioning the way we do things right now. Also looking for interesting new causal relationships, imagining future scenarios, very important across all industries, that when you come up with an idea, that you can actually imagine how would it be like when it will be implemented, or what different routes can we take to implement this idea. But also product improvement we tested for, and alternative uses. So across all these tasks, we measured for fluency, flexibility, and originality. And ChatGPT consistently scored in top 1% across all the tests we did. So this is interesting because imagine you're putting together a team or stakeholders or customers, and you want to do a brainstorming session or creative workshops or innovative workshop. Then what you can expect averagely is far less original ideas than if you use ChatGPT 4, at least. The same we also found for flexibility. Flexibility is that you test for how diverse are the idea, or how similar. Are they almost the same ideas, but just small variants? Or are they in completely different directions of thinking, new perspectives on the problem? And ChatGPT also scored in top 2%, top 4%, and top 7% of these tests. So it's also very good at not just coming up with novel ideas, but coming up with novel ideas in different perspectives and different directions of thinking. So we need to be able and learn how to make effective use of artificial intelligence, not just ChatGPT 4, but all kinds of artificial intelligence to support us in solving particularly the complex problems and the critical problems by getting more ideas, more diverse ideas, and more original ideas. So the quality of diversity of ideas and the quality of getting more of these, wow, I've never thought about that before, type of ideas onto the table or on a whiteboard or post-it notes, is that you get a better foundation for decision making. So what we normally would talk about in business intelligence, solving complicated problems, is that the more and better data you have, the better is your foundation for making good decisions. That's typical for complicated problems. But for complex problems, we talk about the number of ideas and the quality of the ideas as your foundation for being able to make better decisions. So we can talk about ChatGPT as helping us creating a better business creative intelligence in our innovative work.
Thank you, Christian. But it seems to be from your research that every single leader should have his or her own perspective, how we are going to deal with their artificial intelligence and how we are going to include into our leadership, and not only their solving the technical issues, but also in general in the perspective of the leading people as well. Not only talking about their technological processes and they're quite a different things.
Also, I want to a little bit maybe to reflect on artificial intelligence, and we are talking about the ideas and etc. But usually for a lot of people, I'm saying, but ideas are cheap. But the most important thing is execution.
Yes.
You could receive some ideas,
a lot of
what to do, but still these ideas should be implemented. And you implement these ideas with people. So as a leader, you need to understand how to implement it, how to agree with the stakeholders, how to agree with the team, and how to direct them to the needed direction. So, yes.
Mariano, what do you think?
I see the opportunity in artificial intelligence overcoming this issue is that we as humans, we are based on experience, as you introduced me. I have a lot of experience in running businesses. I should be resilient. I should be a good leader. I have gone through a lot. Maybe. It's never the same anyway. So it's just based on experience. You can anticipate some things, but more importantly, you know how to respond to a crisis. And I cannot transfer my knowledge that quickly to any number of people. It takes time for Maria to absorb from my knowledge, from Martynas, for me to absorb from them. Once when you have artificial intelligence, you saw ChatGPT 4 and it's already top 1%.
Yeah.
When it was created, based on research that has been accumulated for 50 years. So I think that's where the opportunity is, and how this is going to change the leadership models is not only the leadership model that we could think about, is the way we're going to be doing business, is the way where education becomes more exciting, because you will be able to at least get a hold of a person like Chris doing that kind of research and understand where things are going to be pointing out towards to. What are the economic models of the future? Is artificial intelligence going to replace us all? Well, if we all get unemployed, who's going to buy our stuff?
Right.
So there's going to be a metamorphosis where I think that the entrepreneurs, in my opinion, and you know this, I've been sharing this with your school for quite a while. I think entrepreneurs are going to overcome the big corporates. I think that those ideas are going to be manifesting quicker, and it's going to be easier to go to market. It's quicker to market. It's spot on. It doesn't have legacy. It doesn't have all those controls. And the legacy businesses are going to have to reinvent themselves somehow.
Yeah, that's right. But coming back to leadership and to leaders' competences, we have the question also from the audience, which I would like to address to Maria and Christian. Does one need to start by learning about general management first and only then proceeded to developing the entrepreneurial mindset and innovation competences?
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, Maria.
I would say not necessarily. I started without any general management knowledge at all. I came from, as I said, from medicine and health field. And this being flexible, I learned, I was curious. So I think for the leadership as well, it counts. Being curious, being courageous, resilient and flexible. This is probably what is more needed than the general management knowledge. I learned throughout the process, learning by doing.
Christian.
Thank you. First of all, there were two questions, or part of the question. So the first one, or the second one we started off here with, I think when you talk about entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity from an organization perspective or startup perspective, it's a lot about management and leadership, but it's a different type of management and leadership than what the traditional theories and methods suggest. Of course, they can complement each other a lot, but learning about entrepreneurship, corporate entrepreneurship, innovation, creativity is a lot about leadership. You become a leader that can handle the difficult times and can set sail for new opportunities. On that note, I would say that it's worth considering innovation, creative, and entrepreneurial activity as investments. So an organization needs to invest in innovation and creativity in order to get a better profit in the future, or new competitive advantage, or more efficient organization procedures, or better marketing, or better sales relations. So investment is what we could call innovation activity. I would also like to say the first question about what competences should the leader have for this uncertain, unknown future. I think there are lots of competences that are important, but I think the most important I consider, at least from a creativity perspective, is that leaders are curiously and open-mindedly looking for potential in new ideas, because they will be exposed to, colleagues will come and tell them new ideas. Competitors put something on their website and you can read it, and it's new ideas. You see new technology appearing, or old technology having an exponential development rate, so it slowly creates new opportunities. And when you look at all these things, you read it in the newspaper, you hear about it from colleagues or friends or people working in other industries, what you should is to be curiously and open-minded looking for, what can this do to my industry that nobody has ever seen before? So you should be able to see potential where most others only find trouble or doesn't even think about it as an opportunity. I think that way you can look at investments, ideas as investment opportunities for your business or your industry. A last note about AI and creativity, because it popped up a little bit, is that it's not in the research and it's not part of the publication now. But it seems to have a kind of symbiotic relationship with the user of the AI. So if you are very creative, you're good at asking challenging, creative, complex questions, then it offers you more original ideas. And if you're good at seeing the potential in these original ideas, then you get more out of creativity AI than if you are not very good at looking at spotting opportunities and seeing potential in new ideas. So basically, those who are creative, entrepreneurial minded will have far more use of AI creativity than those who are not so entrepreneurial minded, are not so creative, and not really good at taking up new opportunities that appear in front of them.
Thank you, Christian. It was a very interesting insight. And we still have I think that we are going to take the last question before ending our webinar. The question is addressed to Mariano. How can a corporation empower entrepreneurial leadership?
That's a very good question. And as Christian just mentioned right now, one of the key factors that any good leader needs to develop is open-minded. And we need to understand what open-minded is. You need to be able and ready to adapt critical or radical change. You need to be able to see not only the opportunity, but you need to gauge the threat and be able to react on that threat. Is there any disruptor coming into the field? Because I haven't done that. And as Martynas mentioned before as well, and Maria, the fear factor also exists in the corporate world. Don't think that I am fearless, or don't think that I am faileless. I mean, it's like the list of failures is enormous. But how do you empower that? I think it has to do a lot with empowerment. The empowerment is part of the culture. You need to have a safe environment inside the corporation to be able to do experimentation. And experimentation needs to be within the limits of compliance and legal. For you to be able to go as far as you can to a viable product before you can actually talk to stakeholders and release it. And you also have to think that for you to be able to do that at a big scale, it takes a lot of courage from multiple leaders inside the organization to think alike. You can have the diversity, you can have multiple different perspectives, but everybody needs to be working towards that entrepreneurial attitude for you to change. So it's very common to hear in an organization, we're innovative. Are you really? Or you're just talking about it and you're really trying to be innovative, but you never go beyond the compliance belt. So that's what I think is going to change a lot, because now we're going to be forced into that culture of entrepreneurial attitude. And why? Because as a corporate, you will have to think continuously about the shareholder value. And if you're a listed company, you're going to have to think about what the board is going to say. But when the board starts already talking about generative AI, because it's going to cause us a major headache if we don't respond to it, then you're going to start seeing the positive changes that we will need in the corporate world to be able to adapt. Are we going to adapt? I don't think all of us. I think you're going to see a lot of failures in the next couple of decades. You will see many more Kodak moments, or sorry to make that publicity, but or the Nokia moment where they just didn't adapt. They had the product, they had the knowledge, they didn't do nothing with it. So this is going to accelerate the pace of having the corporations really going into that radical changing, agile moment to change. And the empowerment is going to be a set of smaller experiments to be able to boost creativity amongst the teams, but also to boost the leadership and spot where the low-hanging fruit is going to be. Long answer.
Yes, but very true one. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot for sharing your experiences, Mariano, Maria, Martynas, and Christian, and for those who are listening and if we raise the curiosity for the leadership, and I think that we did. If it is like that, if you still have you already have the curiosity, please check our MBA Entrepreneurship and Innovation program on our website, Vilnius University Business School. So once again, thanks a lot, and looking forward for their leadership decisions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.